3, 2, 1.
Here we go!
Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Texas Private School Podcast. As always, I am one-third of your hosting crew, now dressed in normal clothes, Wes Tolleson. I'm joined by Walker Lott and Ryan Schroeder from College Station and Stillwater, Oklahoma, respectively. Guys, really interesting previous week in private school football, one that I guessed very well, going 15-2. Ryan, can you validate that 15-2 is the best week we've had on a pick record so far?
Lots of 14-3s, but never a 15-2 till this week. So a very, very good week, I guess, for Wes.
You know, Ryan, I'm chasing the perfect week that you allegedly had last season. I'm still not completely sure of the validity of that. I don't know if the perfect week ever actually existed. I know it's on the Google sheet, but I'm not sure that can I have your word that the perfect week actually happened?
Perfect week did happen. It happened last year. There wasn't nothing crazy about it. Beginning of the season, we had a little thing where Wes got penalized for basically something that he made a double pick that went down. So we had to penalize him for that. And now it really doesn't matter anymore. He's now 4 games ahead of me. And is that 15 games ahead of Walker? Wow. Okay. No, that's all good, man. It's all good.
Listen, man.
Why did you do that? Like, you just had to throw that little.
No, it's good. It's good. He got 15 wins this week, and that's the game differential between y'all.
I mean, listen, at the end of the day, I can pick private school football. Walker Lott, it's been some tough sledding. I will say, for your sake, I think you've been going more out on a limb. You've been less afraid of picking upsets because of your pick record. It goes back to prospect theory, wherever the more you have, the less you have to lose, the more risky you're willing to be. Your thoughts on the gradual slide that has happened with the pick record?
Yeah, I mean, I think I talked about it last week, and then you said to stop. So, I'm just having fun with it, man. And now I'm at the point, right? I'm just having fun with the season. We're going into playoffs in 1 week, and then we're just gonna enjoy it. We're gonna enjoy it.
I'm going to sweat out every pick I make from here on out because I'm terrified of losing this pick record and not getting that trophy. So I will not be cruising and enjoying it. I will be sweating out every single pick that I make. Moving on into, as always, our second segment, Players of the Week, and the Texas Private School Podcast Offensive Player of the Week, junior wide receiver Caden Lehue from Grace Prep. Caden had 4 catches for 130 yards and 3 touchdowns in a win against Covenant Christian. Guys, as a former receiver, I don't know how you get 130 yards off 4 catches and then 3 touchdowns off of that. Walker, I mean, Lehue is obviously a fantastic talent. I saw him play against Trinity Christian Lubbock a couple weeks ago. He is incredibly good at what he does. Your thoughts on just this insane stat line against Covenant Christian?
Yeah, I mean, he's been a guy that's been on our radar since his freshman year. After having a really good, successful freshman year, he was our receiver, I believe, or newcomer of the year last year for TAPS Division III. Maybe newcomer. No, underclassman, I believe. Underclassman of the year in TAPS Division III. And he just has all the size and tools and tangibles you to have to be an elite receiver. 4 catches, 130 with 3 touchdowns. He's what is he, like 6'4" or 6'3", 180. He can play DB. He laid the wood that one day, Wes, and you got that hit on camera. That was impressive. So
Disgusting.
I mean, absolutely. And he's athletic at his size, man. He's just, I mean, this is a kid that will start at multiple big time programs around the state, and in TAPS Division III, he's a superstar, and you can see it in the stat lines he puts up week in and week out.
Absolutely. Ryan Schroeder, your thoughts on this immaculate stat line posted by Caden Lehue?
Okay, I'm not gonna lie. I may or may not have just gone on his Twitter account to kind of get a rundown of him, and he retweeted the 2 videos that we put out. Oh my gosh, that hit stick is quite literally the most insane thing I've ever seen. And the deep ball that Jalen threw to him, I just that ball was probably a little bit overthrown, and he got there to it and basically dove out for it. and he stayed on his feet. I don't know. Very impressive. Overall, Caden's a dog, man. Basketball, he's a dog at Grace Prep, and I was really excited to see him when he transitioned into football and stuff like that. When like I saw him in the winter this past year for basketball. He's absolutely incredible. One of the best 2024 wide receivers in all of private school football. And yeah, he's the reason why that we had him on the radar for sure.
Definitely so. I know he's our offensive player of the week, but just going back to that hit against Trinity Christian Lubbock, that was disgusting. My jaw physically dropped when I saw that. It was repulsive. It was fantastic. But congratulations to junior wide receiver Caden Lehue, the Texas Private School Podcast Offensive Player of the Week. Now transitioning to our Texas Private School Podcast Defensive Player of the Week, senior defensive lineman from Episcopal School of Dallas, Justin McCray. In a win against St. Mark's, McCray had a blocked punt that was returned for a 61-yard touchdown, 3 sacks, 4 tackles for loss. Ryan, I'll turn to you first. You've seen ESD play live. You're the only one out of the 3 of us that has. I mean, Justin McCray, obviously a fantastic talent for ESD and just a crazy stat line here. Your thoughts on the senior's performance?
Hey, he's a big man. He's a big man. I'll tell you that much. He's 6'2", 260. And he kind of plays like that out there. He's very much the type of guy I would not want to be, up against on the offensive line. I remember. I'm trying to remember what I can, but I remember he's quick. He's pretty much a type of guy that, although he's sitting at 260 or 260, he's moving around like he is like a 6'2" type of defensive end that you would see, in the college level. So I really like Justin McCray. And yeah, he was fun to watch at the Star for sure. Definitely full of lots of energy as well. So it's a hell of a player.
Definitely so. Walker Lott, your thoughts on McCray's effort against St. Mark's?
Yeah, I'm watching the film right now. His get off is really, really impressive. He uses his hands well, and just knows where he needs to be. This pump block, right? He literally, gets through the gap, gets the block shed, and just runs it and just blocks it right in front of him and just grabs the ball basically from the guy's foot and runs it in. It's just very, very impressive game. Especially, not how the season wanted them for ESC to go, but, ended it on his senior night, his last game in high school, ended on a great note. Congratulations to the kid.
Yeah, fantastic. So congratulations to senior defensive lineman from ESD, Justin McCray, the Texas Private School Podcast Defensive Player of the Week. And now, as always, before we talk about our 5 games of the week from last week, we're going to go over the TXPS Media Scoreboard powered by Ryan Schroeder, as always. Ryan, it was a little interesting having to do this in a week where so many games were being either rescheduled or canceled while you're trying to get the scores out. But nonetheless, as always, you've gotten this out every night when it's due. And I really can't, I say that like it's homework, like it's due every Friday night. But thank you. It's very well appreciated. I know this is one of the favorite things that people get to see every week. But in terms of the scoreboard and scores I want to go over that aren't our games of the week, St. Thomas gets a big win over St. Pius they needed to get. Antonian, another big win over Concordia. They're rolling to a big matchup with St. Thomas in the last week. Let's see. St. Joseph's dominates St. Anthony's. Dallas Christian beats McKinney Christian 60-0. So there's a post that went up on No Context that I laughed at really hard. DC players, they were beating McKinney Christian's Barstool account in 8-ball. I saw that somebody sent someone that and they got posted on the TXPS No Context, and it made me laugh super hard. But also, guys, I do want to touch on McKinney Christian still has never scored a point on Dallas Christian in the history of their program's existence. Thoughts, comments, concerns, Walker?
Go to Ryan. Give me a second.
Ryan?
You can't do me like that. Sure. I actually really like some of the coaches at McKinney. So that seems very disrespectful. But man, not a point. Oh my goodness, man. Zeke Long. I know. The Wheeler kid's still there too. The younger Wheeler is there as well. I know this McKinney team's got some good players in there somewhere. But I guess when you're playing Dallas Christian, you kind of find yourself in a situation of like Kansas State versus Oklahoma State where, you can't score a single point. Anyways, McKinney Christian, I feel you, man.
I'm glad you can laugh at your program. It's a sign of growth. Walker Lott, you've been assembling something. Your thoughts?
See if this works.
Oh no. What was it supposed to say, Walker?
That's rough, buddy.
Did you hear that?
I did hear it.
There you go. That's all it was. That's rough.
That's rough. Okay, I'm completely fine leaving it at that. That is indeed rough. Good. That is fantastic. We need to utilize that button more.
Thank you.
But like we just covered, ESD smacks St. Mark's 49-6. TCS Lubbock beats the dog out of Willow Park 51-0. Let's see. And yeah, one thing I do want to hit on for sure. Ryan, your Frisco Legacy Eagles were within 7 points of Grapevine Faith, 17-10. You have any thoughts there about that game?
No, and I apologize that I don't know the whole situation of the game. I was trying to actually get insight on the game, but I got a text midway through the night being like, hey, yo, by the way, Legacy and Faith are nothing at like halftime, basically. And I was like, huh? What do you mean we're at nothing? My parents are like texting me as well because I think they knew whatever. I'm thinking to myself, like, how is this game at nothing? Obviously, things don't work out. We lose in overtime to Grapevine Faith, 17-10 final score. But I think this is exactly where it just shows that this defense for Frisco Legacy has just been really dominant all year. However, it's just there's not enough time for them. They keep getting run on and like basically they stay on the field all the time because the offense can't score. I bet it was the exact same thing tonight or on Friday night with Grapevine Faith. They're probably on the field for a long time, and like there's nothing they can do about it because of the fact that the offense would come off the field really quick. So it's good to see a really close game, and what a win that would have been. For Legacy. Something that I didn't know a couple weeks ago, I'll just say this out loud for anybody that doesn't know. In those D2 districts, they're taking 4 teams apiece out of the 5-team districts. So yeah, Legacy was basically, if they got a win there, that was basically going to maybe get them a spot over Coram Deo and stuff because you would have had 2 wins. So I don't know. It would have been a huge win for them for sure.
Yeah, definitely so. And even just that game, even in the loss, as close as it was, I think that was a great game for Legacy regardless. It's a game that they needed to show they can compete with most teams in D2, even if they've had a rough season so far. But I will say, just in relation to just hearing those updates, the Legacy game, on the space driving back from Houston, that's one of the most fun times I've had in a while because we're all just reacting to scores as they roll in, and I'm like about to like vomit on the highway with anxiety waiting for the Grace Dunn result. And that, just hearing that live, literally was one of the highlights of my year so far. But we'll get more into that later. But that actually will wrap up all we're going to discuss with the scoreboard. Now we're going to move into our 5 games of the week from last week, starting with Fort Worth All Saints at Liberty Christian Argyle. Liberty furthers their Division II dominance here with a commanding 31-0 shutout against Fort Worth All Saints. Jacob Vaughn, Brady Janasek, Michael Stump, Quentin Brown, CJ Witten all had tremendous outings for the Warriors as they finished the regular season undefeated in districts and will face either Coram Deo or Legacy Christian in the first round of the playoffs. All Saints will play Fort Worth Christian this Friday with playoff implications looming, but have severely underperformed relative to preseason expectations. So, Walker, I mean, this is a game we expected Liberty to win, although not quite by as much as they did. I mean, it just goes to show it's kind of it's 2 sides of the coin. We thought Fort Worth All Saints was going to be where Liberty is right now before the season, and we thought Liberty was going to be where Fort Worth All Saints is right now. Your thoughts on this game and how both of their seasons have transpired?
Yeah, it looks like most of the points. I'm trying to look at. I'm looking at Max Prep, so it's kind of,
I'm doing the exact same thing. I can't find where these points are coming from.
It looks like field goals. Is that with me? Does that make sense?
I'm trying to figure it out. I can see it is IR. Is this? So there's a pick 6,
interception return.
There's a pick 6, and you had 2 receiving touchdowns.
Yeah, Jeff. Shout out Jeff Castro, by the way. I'm only doing it because I know this, but he actually was tweeting out the game, like live tweeting the game. So if y'all want to go to his Twitter, I'll put it in the chat right now. There it is. It's on that chat. But he did a couple plays on Twitter. I think he interacts with us here and there, so shout out to him. But I mean, it looks like in the rain, like they were pretty dry up there in Argyle, and then they kind of went to work. Jacob Vaughn had 96 yards with 2 touchdowns. Did what he needed to do. Senior Cade Haraki, I guess, had 94 yards rushing, and Michael Stump and Quentin Brown were the two guys that caught the receiving touchdowns this past week. Quentin Brown, the other 2025 that you need to be on the lookout for with Braden Janusek, and he had his score on the night with 2 catches. Yeah, I mean, pretty good game for them. I have no stats on All Saints on my Max Preps, so we don't know much about it, but that's still a good win for Liberty over, a team like All Saints, who I believe last year definitely beat them, right? So, I mean, that's just shows the program for Liberty is just moving forward and forward, and now officially district champs, which we never saw coming whatsoever this year. And we can admit when we're wrong, and we were wrong about this one. And so congratulations to Argyle. Coach Wynn has done a fantastic job over there.
Definitely so. Ryan Schroeder, your thoughts on this matchup and how both All Saints and Liberty's seasons have transpired?
If you're not a Liberty fan, or you didn't know something about Liberty that no one else knew, you were not expecting this team to go basically undefeated. I mean, what, a 3-point loss to ESD is the only loss of the season. You were not expecting this team to go 10-0 unless you were basically a Liberty Christian player. Then I hope you thought you were going to go 10-0. But yeah, I mean, no one was expecting this. It was out of nowhere, and what a great season. They should have been 10-0. I mean, let's be very, very fair. I mean, it's just they have beaten great opponents all year long. Fort Worth Christian, Midland Christian, Southwest Christian. They dominated their entire district, and on top of that, beat Prestonwood by a lot. Beat Grapevine Faith, a top team. Beat TCS Lubbock. Their entire team was scheduled with teams that are dominant in private school, and they just outright won almost all of these. So all I have to say in this game is with All Saints is like, it's kind of funny. I'm pretty sure we were the highest on All Saints. We were the lowest on Liberty. And I think the Warriors proved us tonight that 31-0 is what we should have had in our pregame notes. I mean, our preseason notes.
Ooh.
So.
Oof. Sorry. I'm watching Quentin Brown cook this corner right now on his touchdown.
I saw that as well.
He cooked him. That was a really good route by him.
Yeah, but definitely, that's what I really wanted to hit on, is that this is a game between two teams that we got completely flipped. And it's really interesting to see, how that has developed over the season. You just got to give a shout out to Liberty. They have come out and it exceeded all preseason expectations, and watching their journey through the playoffs is going to be incredibly intriguing as we get closer to that. But moving forward into a game that I personally am very excited to recap, Bishop Dunn at Grace Community. They called me a madman.
Oh my
gosh. What did I
gosh.
tell you? Grace is never the underdog. Grace gets a massive overtime win over presumed favorite Bishop Dunn. This game started with a 50-yard touchdown sprint by Shandon King, but Grace responded in the second quarter with a 40-yard touchdown reception by Grant Turner to make the game 7-6 Grace. After about a million lightning delays, the game finally resumed around 10-10, and a massive interception by Grace at the Dunn 1-yard line gave the Cougars possession with 2:52 remaining in the fourth. Grace reopened the scoring with a 60-yard bomb from JT Williams to Reed Alexander to make the game 14-6. Shandon King would answer with a touchdown of his own, and Dunn tied the game at 14 with 4:30 remaining. The game would end regulation deadlocked, and JT Williams took the first snap of overtime to the crib to put Grace up in front 21-14. And after holding Dunn out of the end zone, Grace wins the game 21-14. I mean, by what I heard, it's kind of the same old story. Apparently Dunn had 7 or 8 unsportsmanlike penalties. And at the end of the day, Dunn is a team that I've heard is more talented than a lot of the teams they play, but they're just not disciplined enough to finish the job. I mean, Walker, no matter what way you cut it, this is a huge win for Grace that might lock them as the second best team in this district and much better playoff seeding implications, meaning they should not have to drive out to Midland for that trip of death. Your thoughts on Grace getting a win here?
No, that's a huge win for this program. Yeah, I bet the weather, of course, played a factor in this game, but sometimes that's just how it goes. That's football. You got to play in the elements you're given. And, you got to give credit to Grace. It's a big win for them. And, that's a hard football game, right? Because, when it's wet, when it's cold, it makes football hits harder. That unseen of when you get hit just a little bit more, you got to have grit in this game. And I think, hey, East Texas guys, as Wes knows, they got a little bit more grit in them. And I think that's just kind of maybe why they pulled out the win today. They just were a little bit more grittier this one.
Some would say Beast Texas guys are grittier than DFW guys,
Hey,
but
Beast
on a podcast with 2 DFW guys, I won't make that claim.
Hey, Beast Texas is Beast Texas for a reason. The nickname is there for a reason.
Absolutely so. Ryan Schroeder, your thoughts on Grace getting a huge win against Dunn in the spot?
Yeah, this game literally decided that they wanted to play all the way until the next morning. Basically, how many lightning delays and overtimes do you need to decide a game, man? No, but for real, not a lot of stats on Grace here, but I did want to say for Bishop Dunn is like, if that really was the case of all the penalties, then Shandon King rushing for 276 yards and a touchdown on 28 carries. Meanwhile, the other guy that's running with you, Jeremiah Horn, is doing 12 carries, 81 yards, and the other touchdown. Like, I'm thinking to myself, like, if discipline would have played a factor in here, my goodness gracious, Shannon King, I could not imagine if those unfortunate penalties were called after some of his plays or whatever they would have been. Like, I just think Shannon King, could have had, he had 276 yards, but imagine what game he could have had with the proper discipline and what this Bishop team could properly be. Obviously, on the defensive side, you got Lloyd Lewis and Kyle Mollett. I hope I'm saying your names right. The two 2024s who try to put on as much as they could with multiple tackles for loss. But yeah, I don't know. This is a Bishop Dunn team that has proven to be a top team in that district, but now they're going to fall to the 3 spot, and Grace is going to jump them for the 2 spot in that district. All with Grapevine Faith being the lead team, which is kind of funny to think about now after they just played a really, really close game with Legacy. But yeah, Bishop Dunn, man, that's a loss that you really wish you could take back. And Grace, you won after 5 hours of playing football, and you had the grit, you had the beast mentality, the Beast Texas mentality.
Definitely so. I also have to give a huge shout out to our East Texas correspondent, Matthew Liskey. Matthew sat in this game in the pouring rain for 5 hours. Not just what?
He texted us. He said the funniest thing. I was laughing at it so bad. I'm sitting there. Oh, I gotta go to the other group chat. I was sitting there and I was thinking to myself, I was like laughing. I'm like, dude, is he really out there? He shows I see the one video on Twitter and he's in the pouring down rain. And I'm like, dude, keep in mind our interns don't get paid. So yeah, they're just there just like we are, just getting there, pouring down in the rain to cover private school football.
Yeah, no, he said he could wring about a gallon of water out of his jeans after that game finished. I mean, he sat there in the pouring, not just pouring, cold rain from like 7:00 p.m. until dadgum near midnight. I mean, I can't say, again, the people that we have helping us, this proves to you that they just thoroughly enjoy what they do in covering private school football, because I can't think of anyone that would just go out and do that for fun except the guys that we have working with us. But shout out to Matthew Liskey. That was a heck of a coverage of a game. Moving on into a game that I think Walker Lott is less likely or less willing to recap. Fort Worth Christian versus Southwest Christian. Luke Anderson and Jacob Trimble both eclipsed the century mark rushing as Fort Worth Christian tops Southwest 28-21. Trimble's 2 rushing touchdowns and Hogan Nelson's 2 passing to Trimble gave the Cardinals just enough edge over the Eagles in this one. You add in 15 tackles and 4 TFLs for Alex Harrelson, and the Cardinals had a really complete effort over SCS here. Walker, I mean, I know it's a tough loss, but what are your thoughts from Fort Worth Christian getting the win over Southwest here?
I don't know how to say it. I mean, great win for Fort Worth Christian. We were down 14-28 until literally like the last 3 minutes of the game, and then they scored, and then they stopped. Then they got the onside or something like that, right? And then they scored. They scored in like the last 5 minutes to make it, what was it, 28-14. Scored again. Got the onside score to make it 21-28, and they couldn't get the extra next onside to try to tie it back up, and that's why they lost by 7. But I think the key of the game was I saw on the SES Athletics Twitter, so I could be definitely wrong about this game, so bear with me. But I mean, there's a reason they tweeted out, but they said, where was it? The Eagles were stuffed they were stuffed on a 4th and goal at the 3-yard line, turnover on downs, and then the next thing was they went down and scored on a 34-yard touchdown pass by Forward Christian with 11 minutes left. So that basically means they turned the ball over, let them drive all the way down the field, and let them score to make the lead 14-7. So it is just like 2 weeks ago where they had the 2 pick sixes. They shoot themselves in their own foot to not. You have Antoine Polk. You have elite offensive linemen, and you can't get the touchdown on the 3-yard line. That's unacceptable, honestly, for the program. It hurts. It hurts because that team is so good and so talented, but they're not going to make playoffs now. And I'm gonna go on a little rant for a second. We talked about it before the season. I know we have a lot of listeners from Midland, Argyle, and All Saints. It sucks that the semifinalist winner from last year doesn't even make the playoffs this year because of 3 D1 schools moving down in 1 year. I know it is. We've already talked about it, and we've already said it's by how much it's tuition and all that, how much it goes down, like all that.
Attendance.
Thank you, attendance.
Imagine tuition.
Green
Hill's the top of everything.
Arguably, I think tuition might be a better way to classify this than attendance. I think that's the new way we need to go.
Yeah, but it just sucks, man. Like, no, I'm not like hating on the actual players of it. I'm hating the situation, and that doesn't happen in any other district anywhere else besides District 1 and TAPS Division 2, which it just sucks because even Fourth Christian, who's a great team this year, is going to get the 4th spot. Like, that's ridiculous as well. So, and good on Argyle Liberty for having the resurgence. All Saints looks good, but not as good as we expected them to do. So it just sucks. And I feel for those guys over there, all those guys, those seniors who have been in the playoffs for 3 straight years and can't make it their last year. But I hope the best for them. Congratulations on the seniors. Have a great last week of the season against Midland. I know some of the Midland guys asked me to come up and watch that game. I cannot do that. I'm going to Shiner, Texas, actually. But I hope you beat Midland. Yeah, that's my thoughts.
Go. Ryan Schroeder, do you have any brief comments on Fourth Christian versus Southwest?
I have one brief comment that might be a little bit bigger than a brief comment because this is something that needs to be mentioned. Every single touchdown in this game was scored by Jacob Trimble. Jacob Trimble had 14 carries for 103 yards and 2 touchdowns. That's on the run. On the receiving side, he caught 3 passes for 98 yards and had 2 touchdowns. He had 4 touchdowns total, 200 yards total, and a combination of 14 carries and 3 catches. What a great day for Jacob Trimble. If you already didn't know Jacob Trimble was a dog, how about just put that on there? They only scored 28 points, and he was all 28 points. Hogan Nelson obviously threw those 2 touchdowns, but, that's super impressive. Luke Anderson still rushed for 100 yards, and I bet Luke Anderson also made like 15 tackles. That's what he always does. Let's see. Did he make... Luke Anderson, 12 tackles. Guys, I'm pretty good at this nowadays. It's pretty easy just to bet on Luke Anderson being a dog on defense and offense, while Jacob Trimble basically does. Oh, and if you didn't know, Jacob Trimble also threw 7 passes as well. So he's kind of like the Dylan Bell last year of now Fourth Christian, where he's going to play every single position. Super impressive, Jacob. And I know that Montana State, right? That's correct. Montana State. That is that school's getting a great dog in you that, you're putting up 200 total yards a game with 4 touchdowns. A super exhilarating game that deserves to be talked about.
I would have to agree.
I'm now looking at the stat line and seeing that we only passed the ball 9 times, which granted you let Antoine rush the ball for 30 times for 110 yards. Zeman had 13, Christian had 4. But I said this last year after the state championship, if you want to win games in this offense, you have to pass the ball a little bit more than 9 times because it's so easy to put 7 in the box and just have any guy try to tackle Antoine. It's so difficult to try to beat that and win a game with that. And with Christian Wells there, you figured they would pass the ball more, especially in a game. I know it's raining, so it's a whole different ball game, but only letting Christian Wells have 2 passes the entire game that one of them was a touchdown, total was 56 yards. I mean, you see that and you're like, why aren't you passing the ball more? And Giesbright had 1 yard, 1 catch for 18 yards. So you're getting big time gains on your passing, but you don't pass the ball more. I'm now just disappointed. That's how I need to say that. I'm just disappointed.
I mean, Kinkaid passed the ball 0 times and won their game, but
do you have a Notre Dame commit on your roster?
Yeah. Do you know Micah Bell? Michael Bell personally, he'll tell you.
I think you might know Micah Bell.
I was like, I'm gonna tell you. I'll
tagged you.
Yeah, Micah Bell. This is a very random part of the episode to talk about Micah Bell. But
wait, let's save it for Kinkaid St. John's.
Yeah, I was like, let's talk about it in a second.
We can just transition into that one now. Let's just do that.
All right, bet. Okay, so transitioning into Kinkaid versus St. John's, 6 different players rush the ball for the Falcons and 2 go over 100 yards as Kinkaid edges out a 38-28 win over St. John's to advance to the SPC championships this Saturday. Micah Bell's a freak, man. The Fighting Irish commit had 140 yards and 2 touchdowns with the entire Mavs defense knowing he was getting the ball almost every possession. Miles Rader is also a dog, going for 111 yards and a touchdown of his own, as this Kinkaid rushing attack is nothing short of tenacious. As for St. John's, they fought valiantly in the absence of Cole Allen, with Stephen Gill and Pierce Leverett doing everything they could to extend their season. While they fell short this season, the Mavs will absolutely be a contender in 4A next year. So, Ryan, I did enjoy seeing Micah Bell's story following the game, calling you out a little bit. You have any thoughts, questions, concerns regarding that?
Yeah, I'm out and about on Friday night in Stillwater like always, and I look on my phone, and Mr. Micah Bell has sent me a message over saying that he still has his head, which if you don't know what that's in reference to, I said Micah Bell would lose his head to St. John's defense. However, St. John's doesn't realize that you just have to put all 11 men in the box, because that's the reason why you stop. That's how you stop Kinkaid, apparently. I'm usually not very critical and stuff like that. I try not to be very, very critical, but it comes to a point where how are you not putting 11 in the box if they haven't thrown a pass the entire game? How are you not like just cramping every last person like right there, almost in, when you're playing NCAA football, I'm just going to say something stupid, but when you're playing NCAA football and you have the goal line defense and you could pick that for like all the time, and you pick that sometimes in the middle of the field, you just should pick goal line defense against Micah Bell every single time. All right. They're going to rush the ball unless he throws some sort of wild trick play at you. It's going to be a rush for sure. But yeah, Miles Roeder is definitely another guy I want to mention. He deserves so much respect. He's kind of shadowed by Micah Bell a little bit, which he needs to, and he will shine next year when Micah Bell is gone. But Miles Roeder still had a great game, 111 yards, a touchdown, still did very well for himself. And I'm having to believe that he's going to put up good numbers next year himself. Obviously, this Kinkaid team, kind of like runs on the Bell family, but Roeder's a dog, man. Anything else in this game? I really don't know what I have to say. St. John's, man. I was expecting the dub at Rice this weekend, and I ended up getting a little message from Micah Bell instead. So I'm not the happiest camper.
I will say a funny story that I told on the space, but I'll reiterate here on the episode. Following the game, the Kinkaid team is there. They're celebrating. They're taking the team pictures after the game with since they're going to the SPC championship. And I'm standing in the back. I already took my picture though, and I'm just kind of standing there with my sister who I cover the game with. And like 1 or 2 of them like look at me and go, "Wes, get in the picture." And I was like, "No," I was like, "I don't do that, man. Thanks though." They're like, "Wes, get in the picture." And I again was like, "No, man, I'm good. Thank you, though." And they're like, "Wes, get in the picture." And one of the moms like looked around and was like, "Whoever Wes is, get in the picture so we can continue." I was like, "You've got to be kidding me." So I went down, and there is somewhere a picture on the internet or on someone's phone of me kneeling with the Kinkaid team doing the talons up. And then after about 3 pictures, I just hear a voice from the left side, and it was Micah Bell, and went, "Who let this dude in the picture?" And I was like, "I'm going to get out of the picture now." So I just slunk away while they were still taking pictures. It was honestly.
If anyone has that picture, please submit it to the podcast.
No,
we would like to see Wes Tolleson with the entire Kinkaid team. I'm gonna frame that. I'm gonna frame that picture if they win state. If they don't win state, though, you're not getting that picture.
I honestly might as well. It was part of me thinks it's like super funny, and the other part of it makes me feel really, really old. Walker Lott, your thoughts on Kinkaid getting a big win over St. John's here?
Yeah, great win. The powerhouse program stays the powerhouse, and they go back to the state championship for the sixth time probably in a row, probably more. But you gotta respect St. John's. Stephen Gill, Cole Allen are the future of that program, and Cole Allen didn't even play, and that's a big loss for them, and that's a question they're gonna have with that team. Because you have multiple, Division One guys. I think Stephen Gill is a guy that can go D1. Cole Allen is definitely one guy that can go D1. And you have Brown commit Pierce Leverett and Dax Garza, others. And so Caden Perry as well. So you have multiple guys that could go Division One for their positions, and you don't win. And so that's going to be a what if in the St. John's, questioning if their superstar Cole Allen could play. But bright future ahead for that program. Coach Veltri has them on the right track. I know he was a Kinkaid guy, and now he's over there. Thank you to Jack Klosek for letting me know that. But that's a good program on the rise with young guys at the head of it. So excited to see what they do next year.
Definitely so. So congratulations to Kinkaid as they will move into the SPC 4A state championship against EHS next week. Now, as for the last game we're going to cover briefly, that is Lubbock Christian at Fort Worth Temple Christian. Lubbock Christian dominates this game on the ground, rushing for 337 yards and 4 touchdowns and a dominant 44-6 win. Bax Townsend accounts for 3 touchdowns, throwing 2 and running 1, also running for 138 yards. Trax Adams also had 3 touchdowns on the ground, averaging over 8 yards per rush, as the Eagles prove that they are the top dogs in D4. Walker, I mean, we've known Lubbock Christian's the top dogs in D4. They solidify it here with a big win against Fort Worth Temple Christian. Your thoughts on Lubbock Christian?
Yeah, I mean, Lubbock looks good when you have Bax Townsend. Good things happen. And what is it? I think they only have 1 loss, right, or something on that program, and that's when they didn't have Bax Townsend. So,
That's true.
Yeah, so when Bax is there and he's doing what he does best, and that is play the game of football, he does it really, really well. And yeah. So good for Trax. Also with 3 touchdowns on the ground, they're a really, really good squad. Beat other really good Fort Worth Temple squad, but Lubbock looks like the favorite in Division 4 for a reason. Coming down, another one from higher rank coming down and causing chaos in that district.
Definitely so. Ryan Schroeder, your thoughts on Lubbock Christian getting a big win here?
Yeah, I said this. I think I've said this actually almost. This might be the 3rd week in a row I'm saying this, but in D4, there can be that one guy that kind of runs things through, and basically, if you didn't know, it's Bax Townsend, it's Ryan Straczynski, it's like all these different guys for all these different teams. Bax Townsend is the man for Lubbock Christian, and obviously, it's. People say that without Bax Townsend, this team with Bax Townsend, they would win that Weatherford Christian game and they would be undefeated this year. Obviously, the closest game of the year being that Munster Sacred Heart game, which may end up being the state championship game. You know what I'm saying? So I'm really excited to see what Lubbock Christian could do going into playoffs. It's a good win against a dominating win against Fort Worth Temple Christian. It's a Temple Christian team that's also a solid team this year as well. I think they only had 1 loss coming in this game, maybe, right? So yeah, so honestly, great game, and his main man, Trax Adams, as well. He also had 3 touchdowns, so that's the man, bro.
Absolutely. So congratulations, Lubbock Christian. Big win over Fort Worth Temple Christian. Now we're going to transition into our other news section right before we get into our games of the week, starting with the new TXPS week. I think, this is week 11 rankings. So as always, I will say the rankings, they will pop on the screen. You can pause when you get to your respective rankings and then analyze it from there. But first, here are the Division 1 rankings. Here are the Division 2 rankings, the Division 3/Division 4 rankings, the SPC rankings, and the top 10 overall private school rankings. So, Walker, I'll turn to you first. You can just briefly discuss. There's been shakeup, as there always is, especially in D2. D2 took us like 30 minutes by itself to try and get through. Your thoughts on the teams moving up and down?
Yeah, crazy week. Look, we could talk about D2 the most because that's really the big thing. Midland moves up. Fort Worth Christian moves up. Grapevine Faith moves down just because, even with the rain and all that, the close win against Legacy in overtime just didn't impress as much as the other ones. Second Baptist moves up to 6 after winning again. just kind of cementing themselves as a favorite in District 4. Bishop Dunn, Fort Worth All Saints, and Fort Worth Southwest all moved down, and Fort Worth Southwest out of the top 10, which that's just shocking. Brownsville St. Joseph moves up, and Grace moves back into the top 10 after beating Bishop Dunn, who was a 5 seed, I believe, last time. So, what is it? Or what are y'all, 8-1 now? 8-2? And that's a big
8-1.
8-1, and the one loss at Grapevine Faith. So, big program over there. Going to be maybe that second place in district. So good for them.
I would have to agree. Ryan Schroeder, you have any thoughts on teams moving up and down in our rankings?
Yeah, honestly, I just want to mention a couple of different teams. I think it's important to note that Liberty and Regents are, I'm in my opinion, kind of like a 1-2 that are like in D2 that kind of like stand alone a little bit. They're kind of the top dogs in my opinion. And then I actually really like Brownsville St. Joseph. No one really talks about them a lot. This is a team that only lost the Regents by 10 points. They're 6-2 this year. Honestly, they're having a really, really good year this year. Actually, that might need to be updated. I think they're maybe even be 7-2 at this point. But honestly, a really, really good year for Brownsville St. Joseph. And it's impressive to see what they've been doing. And then, jumping down to D3, I can see Bay Area Christian, and Bay Area Christian, obviously, has jumps in for Temple Christian. And I think that's the right move right there. So everything else is kind of just basically how it was, a little bit things mixing up here and there with SPC losses. But honestly, I think everything looks good. D2 is the main thing.
Yeah, definitely so. It took us a long time to get through, but I think we're pretty comfortable with how those rankings turned out. So moving on into our two of the funnest segments we've introduced. Do these respective teams that have been blowing everyone out cover their games? So first of all, does Dallas Christian cover? We all are so far 2-0 in these games because we've just bet Dallas Christian to cover both spreads, and they have overwhelmingly. So Dallas Christian is a 47.5 point favorite against Dallas Shelton. This game might be a little harder to pick a spread than the others because the number is so high. Walker Lott, I'll ask you first. Does Dallas Christian cover a 47.5 point spread against Dallas Shelton?
So I'm going to do some math here very quickly. Not really. I'm not going to do math at all. I'm just going to point out the obvious. Dallas Covenant just beat Dallas Shelton 42-0. Okay. Dallas Covenant lost to Dallas Christian 47-7. So if the team that they beat by 40 beats Shelton by 40, I'm going to guess they cover that spread.
Ryan Schroeder.
Bro, I'm sorry, man. This is about to be a slaughter fest for Dallas Christian. Are you kidding me? They just won by 60 last week. And if you're telling me that they're not going to win by 60 again, it beat McKinney Christian by 60. They're putting 75 up on. No, I'm just kidding. They're not going to put 75, but they'll put. You think they're going to put 75 up on Shelton? That's a lot of points.
If they want to.
You're not gonna at that point. You got to play your JV, right? JV has to come in at like 50, right? Is that what we're thinking?
Yeah.
Also, DC, if you're listening to these, any coaches listening, we're trying to cover here. So over 50. No, I'm just kidding.
We're influencing. Okay, so Ryan, I take it you're taking DC.
Yeah, I'll take the cover. I'll take the cover over Shelton.
I will also take DC to cover the spread. This game's too easy at this point. Moving into the second match, does Parish cover? Parish is only a 15.5 point favorite at Plano Prestonwood this Friday. It's a little more interesting. Prestonwood is a very good team in their own right, and a team that we have assessed at the beginning of the season is the only team that can pose a threat to Parish in district. Walker Lott, does Parish cover a 15.5 point spread at Prestonwood this Friday?
You see, the thing about it is, right, whatever answer I give gives away our game of the week pick, basically, right?
Oh, okay. That is a good point. I didn't think about that. We will circle back around and place this at the end of our Parish Prestonwood episode, which is actually going to be in about 5 seconds. And now we will move into covering our 5 games of the week with special guest Jack Klosek, our SPC correspondent. Jack, welcome on. How excited you are this weekend for the SPC championships?
Wes, thanks for having me. I'm pretty excited. It's a big-time rematch, Kinkaid and Episcopal. Either Kinkaid or Episcopal has played in every SPC title game since 2009. Obviously, it's a rematch of the 2019, 2017, 2018 title games. Really excited to see Trinity Valley make it back to the SPC title for the first time since 2017. They look to upset John Cooper. And one thing that I keep coming back to two things. Number one, it's tough to beat a team twice. Number two, weird things happen in SPC rivalry games. So I'm excited to see what Kinkaid brings to the table and what Trinity Valley brings to the table this weekend. And I'm excited to see some good football.
Definitely so. We will cover both of those games in depth. Those will be the last two games we cover, but I'm very excited as we will be covering those games this weekend. I'm incredibly excited to see those down in Houston. But before we get to those, we have to cover our three games first. The first one being Parish at Prestonwood. Parish is a 15.5-point favorite in this game, and in a battle we've been looking forward to since the preseason, 7-1 Prestonwood and 8-1 Parish will square off this Friday in Plano. The Lions have not missed a beat since departure of long-tenured head coach Chris Cunningham, and led by running back AJ Sibley, wide receiver CJ Jackson, Luke McGarry, McGuire Martin, the Lions will most likely pose as Parish's only threat until the state championships. As for Parish, Coach Novikov might have his most talented squad ever with the likes of Sawyer Anderson, Daniel Demery, Cedric Mays, Trey Williams, Derek Usbio, and Caleb Mitchell-Irving. As good as I think Prestonwood is, they're still not Parish. I can't see myself betting against Parish in any game they play against a private school team. Give me the Panthers here. Walker Lott, your thoughts?
It's a very interesting thing because Parish is Parish, and we've talked about them forever. Prestonwood is not a bad team whatsoever. They are really good teams. Have great wins over Lil Elm, Cornerstone, TC Addison. McGuire Martin is the senior, been there forever. It feels like. Luke McGarry's a really good player. Arizona commit Carter Stoutmeyer. Troop O'Neill's a really good kicker. But I really like Hudson Lunsford, the 2024 linebacker, is a guy who I think is going to be a really good player. Like you said, CJ Jackson, Nathan LaPerry, and I really like the 24 tight end Caleb Bowers. And we haven't talked about him a lot. I want to give them their flowers and give some of the guys that I really, really like. Jackson McNeef on the offensive line, Luke Rumsey. They got some guys, man, and they're going to be interesting to watch. For my pick, I'm going to go Parish. I think it's crazy for a team that barely beat or barely lost to South Oak Cliff to not pick them. But Prestonwood is really good. I think Parish is just really, really good, and that's why I'm giving the edge to the Panthers.
I like that. Ryan Schroeder, your thoughts?
Yeah, Prestonwood is posing the threat of probably, probably what, 2 or 3. I mean, I know our overall rankings will tell you exactly what we think of him, but our overall rankings have Prestonwood as currently the 7th best team, but I think you just have to realize that this Prestonwood team is just very, very solid. You have to put them behind some teams like Houston St. Thomas and all that kind of stuff, but in all reality, this is the only team that will ever stand a chance, probably in recent years, to put up anything on Parish. And I have to say this, I don't know when we're doing the whether they're going to cover or not, but I think Parish wins this game, but I'm excited to see this Prestonwood team play, especially since Parish is going to Plano. I think they'll pack it out. Last home game, senior night, Prestonwood. I know they're rowdy, so I'm excited to see what happens. I got Parish in this game, but yeah, we'll wrap back around to that in a second.
Definitely. So, Jack, last pick, your thoughts on Parish versus Prestonwood?
It says a lot about a team when you're playing in non-conference teams like Aledo, teams like South Oak Cliff, teams like China Spring, teams like LBJ Austin. It's unheard of for any private school to be playing that level of competition. They handed Aledo one of their first early non-district losses in years.
Yep.
They hung with South Oak Cliff, who won a title last year. They destroyed LBJ Austin, the 4A runner-up, who, by the way, moved up to 5A this year. And China Spring has one loss, and it's to Parish. On the other hand, Prestonwood, while they've only lost one game, they lost to Liberty Christian. When you have a team that's just a juggernaut like Parish and is taking care of really good public school teams, I just don't see how you could pick against them. The only private school team to even come close to Parish was Episcopal, and there's a reason why. Episcopal is that team this year. They've reloaded really their most talented team since probably 2017, 2018. So with that, give me Parish, man. They are a heck of a team. And when you're competing like that against teams that have 100 kids on the team and have their pick of thousands of kids that go to these big public schools, when you're competing with them and dominating them and taking care of business, that's unheard of for private schools in the state of Texas. Give me Parish.
Definitely so, Jack. I will put you on the spot here. One of our segments is we choose if Parish and Dallas Christian cover the spread against the team they're playing. So Parish is a 15.5-point favorite over Prestonwood. Do you see them covering the spread in this game?
I do.
Definitely so.
I'm covering.
Walker Lott?
I do. And I want to mention one last thing to his point of how they're competing. Private schools are always known for not being able and being good in the trenches, right? Like that's where a lot of times they just don't have a lot of big guys. That's what Parish sets Parish apart from others is the guys in the trenches on the offensive defensive lines. One thing that we'll talk about later is Bel Air has a really good defensive line and offensive line, and that's why they could maybe compete with them. Prestonwood has a couple guys, but I don't know if they can compete on the level of those guys in the trenches. But yes, Parish covers.
Ryan Schroeder?
Parish does not cover. I think that Prestonwood will at least this is what if you want my exact prediction, I think it's a 14-point game. I think Prestonwood still loses by 2 scores, but I think they lose by 14 points. Honestly, it will be the closest game Parish plays this entire year when it comes to their district schedule and probably actually their playoff schedule too before St. Thomas in the championship. That'd be my only other team that I would think is like going to pose a threat like that. But yeah, let's give 2 touchdowns. So that's 15.5, right?
It is.
Yeah, give me 2 touchdowns. I got Prestonwood covering.
I like it. You're going out on a limb, and I like it. I'm going to take Parish here just because, if for nothing else, the rule of thumb that you always bet the favorite has done me well so far. I'm sticking with it. I like Parish to cover a 15.5-point spread in this spot. But moving on to the next game we're going to cover, Antonian versus Houston St. Thomas. St. Thomas is a 14.5-point favorite in this game. St. Thomas is 9-0. Antonio is 8-1. Houston St. Thomas has an electric offense, one of the best in private school, made up of Dante Lewis, Schaefer Henderson, and Luke Edgecombe. The defense is made up of Jack Ward, Grant Stewart, and Caleb Davis. I mean, this Houston St. Thomas team is the one that we think is the second best team in Division I. And besides Prestonwood, again, I don't want to keep bringing teams back to Parish, but one of the only teams we think that can challenge Parish, and they are fantastic in their own right. I do want to ask this to lead off our discussion. Walker, do you think Antonian has a shot here with star running back Johan Candenius out for St. Thomas?
No doubt. I think I'd have to check the schedule. One second. I'm going to check the schedule before I make this claim. But I think this might be their toughest test all year. In Houston, Antonian Prep. Antonian Prep has played some really good non-private schools and kept it close. Outright beat San Antonio Central Catholic, St. Pius, and Concordia. And St. Thomas St. Thomas played Central Catholic close until the second half. So you never know. I think they have a shot, especially with Johan out. The rushing game is going to have to be, I guess, led by Dante, who can definitely run the ball. That man is just sensational athlete. Don't just always have to watch out for him with his arm and his legs. I think this offense, you said St. Thomas has an electric offense. I think Antonian has an electric offense with Riley Strode, Ricky Gonzalez, Jace Cascano throwing the ball with Mike Moreno running the ball. I think they have a pretty good offensive line too. I don't think they win here, and I'm going to give my pick for St. Thomas, but I think Antonian causes some havoc, maybe keeps it closer than what people think.
Yeah, I would love nothing more than to see this be a very competitive game. Ryan Schroeder, your thoughts on the game?
This game's gonna be close. It will be close, and I think definitely because of Johan Cardenas not playing. I think we can just immediately say this game will be a lot closer. However, this is still Houston St. Thomas, and this is still the Houston St. Thomas team that has beaten Kinkaid, has beaten St. John's, has gone out there and beaten teams that are that we give a certain level of respect to. Nolan Catholic, I mean, I don't know. I can't really give Nolan Catholics also 2-7, but I think what I'm saying is more just like St. John's and Kinkaid, and obviously they just rolled through their district. So I honestly believe in this one that St. Thomas is just probably going to go out 10-0. And, I mean, everybody knows how it's going to go, in my opinion. I think it's pretty obvious that if they win this game, you'll probably see them in the state championship against Parish.
Bro, Nolan Catholic catching strays for no reason. That's tough.
I'm-
Jack.
Yeah, sorry, Mr. Matsuda.
Jack, your thoughts on the contest between Antonian and St. Thomas this Friday?
So I think one thing that benefits Antonian is their non-district schedule was comprised entirely of public schools. They played Blanco, they played Somerset, they played San Antonio Memorial. They kept it close and lost with Bernie, who was a multi-round playoff team last year. That's probably the best team they've played so far, and kept it within 10 points. On the other hand, St. Thomas went out and beat what is currently the number 7 team in all of 4A, according to Dave Campbell's Lumberton, by 20 points.
Yeah, that's a big win for them. Lumberton's a good team.
Lumberton's a really good team. In fact, Kinkaid beat Little Cypress Mauriceville, only by 17 points, and Lumberton beat Little Cypress Mauriceville by like 40. So, it's going to bode well for Antonian having Johan Cardenas out, and because they play such a tough non-district schedule, and going in and playing a public school as a private school is a little bit of an intimidating experience. When I went out, we played Little Cypress Mauriceville one year at their place. Sorry about that. There was it's a tough task, and it really prepares you well for those big conference games. By the same token, though, I think Antonian's at a disadvantage because of something that I like to call bus fatigue. They have to make the trip from San Antonio, and it's not easy going from experience from a guy that we would play in Dallas once or twice a year. It's tough being on that bus for 3 hours, stopping, and then trying to restart same day. Obviously, that's not everything, doesn't always determine what's going to happen, but that really can take a toll on you. With that being said, I've been fortunate to know Dante Lewis personally. My brother played summer baseball together, so shout out to Dante. And this is easily the most talented St. Thomas team, probably since 2015 when they made it deep in the TAPS playoffs. And with that, I'm going to take St. Thomas. Antonian is a really talented team, but the way they've shown up against even a lesser Nolan team, Lumberton, Kinkaid, St. John's, they're gonna get the undefeated season, and look for those guys to have a statement win against Antonian.
I think so. You're bringing up a bus fatigue is interesting. I think we have several times tried to quantify how much bus fatigue accounts for in a point spread. Me and Walker, I think, came to the decision that a drive from DFW to Midland accounts for at least a 3.5 swing in a point spread. I think that's more or less fair, but more research is required. We have some more regressions to run on that figure before we're absolutely sure. But moving into the third game we're going to cover, that is Austin Regents at St. Michael's Christian. Regents is a 27.5 point favorite. This is a game I will actually be covering Friday night. In a heated rivalry game, undefeated Regents will take on 4-4 St. Michael's. Regents looks to be the best team in the South behind contributions from Quinn Murphy, Jacob Wilburn, Tyler Quo, Jack Burkle, and Chili Sayer. St. Michael's obviously has no shortage of talent, as displayed by Carson Kruger, Jason Stokes, Xander Romero, Malachi Smith, and John Nehemiah Griffin. I will say that you can usually throw stats out the window in a rivalry game such as this. However, I don't see a situation where Regents loses here. Give me the Knights. Walker Lott, your thoughts?
It's so hard, man, because this is one of my teams I just love. Like, it's St. Michael's. I think they're a good school. I love the coaches over there. The players are really good to us, and man, I have supported them, I think, more than anyone else in the state of Texas. And I think they're finally healthy. I think you got all your guys back. I think this is the game. You had the 50 burger last week against Victoria St. Joseph, and you're back on track. If any time you can do it, it's now. This is the season. This is the season to win the game. But there's no way I can't pick against Austin Regents in this one. I have supported them week in and week out for multiple weeks. And my pick record is honestly 3-4 losses bad because of Austin St. Michael's. So just in reality, the 8 straight district champs and Austin Regents have never lost a playoff games or regular season district game since I don't even know. And I don't think they're going to stop now. So give me Austin Regents.
Fair assessment. Ryan Schroeder, your thoughts?
Walker is insanely right here. If there's ever a year for it to happen, it's this year. However, it won't be this year. Regents will come out victorious in this game. You can't go against the numbers. You know this team's good. This team slaps everybody. And district right now, they literally have already slapped. They slapped Hyde Park. They slapped St. Anthony's. They just slapped TMI. The only team they've even played close is Brownsville St. Joseph, and Brownsville St. Joseph played St. Michael's in a really close game where they beat St. Michael's. So honestly, I view these two teams the exact same, in my opinion, and with them being the exact same, I feel like the same outcome will come for Regents to beat St. Joseph.
Now, Ryan, you know what they say about the transitive property. We've gotten in some trouble trying to use that as a measuring stick.
Transitive property.
I will say,
whatever, man.
And, Regents probably will quote me on this afterwards. I do think St. Michael's covers, and I think this is the closer game than people expect.
Oh, what's the?
Yeah, you just got a lot of Twitter clips that I heard come out of that statement, but
I did.
It's good engagement.
For the first time, it will be someone else getting flamed and not me this year. I feel like I've taken all the hot takes this year, but hopefully Walker will get quoted on one of them.
I don't know. Me calling Southwest fraudulent seemed to ruffle some feathers, but Jack Klosek, your thoughts on Regents at St. Michael's this Friday?
So to answer Walker's point about the last time Regents lost a district game, that was in 2015 to Hyde Park.
Oh yeah.
That says enough about Regents. They're obviously a very talented team. I mean, they wiped Episcopal off the face of the earth last year. And they're a really talented team. Yes, they play in a bit of a weaker district. I'm not gonna pretend that that's not the case, but they're a really talented team. I've really enjoyed getting to watch their film on Max Preps. They have a great passing attack. And it's a really fun offense to watch. It's dynamic, and they take care of business on defense. I just don't see how you could pick against them. Give me Regents. St. Michael's is taking steps in the right direction, and you like to see that, especially having a midseason coaching change. That's a tough thing to go through. I went through that at Kinkaid, and that's not an easy thing to come back from. So you like to see the fight from St. Michael's, but Regents is going to go undefeated, and they're going to continue 7 straight years of winning district games.
I would have to assume that's what's going to happen, and I will be very excited to cover that game come Friday. But moving into the meat of the episode, the SPC championships, the first of which is Trinity Valley versus John Cooper. In the first championship contest of the season, 7-1 John Cooper will face off against 6-4 Trinity Valley at 2 p.m. on Saturday. Cooper won the first matchup of the season 50-34 and are looking to repeat as SPC 3A state champions. Behind Vaughn McKeever, Alonzo Barranquilla, and Kyler Sullivan, the Dragons have a fantastic opportunity in front of them. Across the field, though, sophomore quarterback Gavin Parkhurst and the TVS Trojans are hungry and waiting. A 25-24 loss to Fort Worth Country Day has slowed their momentum moving into this contest, but the quarterback duel between McKeever and Parkhurst cannot be overlooked regardless. Walker Lott, you've caught some flack on Twitter for saying that Parkhurst outdueled, emphasis on outdueled McKeever in the first matchup. I mean, how excited are you for this quarterback matchup part 2?
Yeah, I'm guessing McKeever has that as a little bulletin board material of me saying Parkhurst outdueled him, which, hey, he did. He did. That's what happened. And you did take the win, but you got outdueled. But, hey, I got to stay true to what I said. But
no, I feel that.
You got to see if McKeever can do it this time around. And like we always say, it's hard to beat a team twice. I think Parkhurst, Jacob Maynard, I like Carter Lee. They have a lot of guys on that team. They're going to cause some damage for years to come. They're a very young team, but I'm going to give John Cooper. I think they're, the favorites. We have them number 2 in SPC for a reason. They're a really good team. And I think McKeever does prove me right. And I think he says like, oh yeah, I can outduel this guy. and I think they all come to play. So McKeever wins back-to-back state championships, probably is I'm going to say MVP of this game, but also watch Dean Calhoun to make a message as cementing himself as the best young talent at SPC.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm also going to pick John Cooper to win here. I think Parkhurst is fantastic for Trinity Valley, and obviously McKeever is fantastic for John Cooper. I just think the weapons McKeever has behind him are greater than the weapons Parkhurst has behind him. I like the Dragons in this game. Jack, break down what's gonna go on for us on Saturday.
So Trinity Valley, that's a tough way to go into SPC week, losing the country day. I know that's a rivalry game, Battle of Bryant Irvin, and that's a nice way for Fort Worth Country Day to end their season. But that's a tough way to go into the championship. By the same token, John Cooper in their last 2 games before Trinity Valley really, they scuffled a little bit against Country Day and Houston Christian, who Houston Christian lost to Oak Ridge last week.
Yeah,
that was a 26-22 game. With that being said, though, John Cooper is a really, really talented team. And I have them going back to back. I just think right now they are head and shoulders above the rest of 3A. That's not to say that Trinity Valley can't pull off the upset. They have really, really talented young pieces. But right now, that's John Cooper's division. And I got the Dragons going back to back, Coach DeHaven getting back to back titles. And that's a really, really talented program, and a program that's only been around for about a decade. It's pretty cool to see that they went from, being bottom of the barrel only about 6, 7, 8 years ago to now some people will say they should be in 4A. And that'll be interesting to see in the next couple years what happens with SPC realignment, because that's coming up in the next year or two, I believe. They're a really talented team, and I got love for John Cooper, and I think they're going to go back to back.
I think so as well. Ryan Schroeder, your thoughts on this contest?
Yeah, I mean, Vaughn McKeever played so well last year with the guys that they had. I know, obviously, main target, you got to be, I gotta say this right, Kyler Sullivan.
Like Kyler Murray.
Gotcha, Kyler Sullivan, man. He's been one of the main guys we talked about all year for this team. What's called Alonzo Baranchia.
I haven't figured that out yet.
Yeah, I'm trying myself as well. I'm so sorry, Dragons. I am trying. But yeah, obviously, we know Gavin Parkhurst is a stud, but I think in this game, you just have to realize that John Cooper is a special team. They really should be 9-0 for being very fair here. This team is a 9-0 team. That's a TWCA 3-point loss on August 26th, y'all. August 26th. That was the 3-point loss. We're currently, or might turn into November tonight as it is Halloween night. But yeah, all I gotta say about this is just the fact that they haven't lost in a while. And I think it's pretty safe to assume that if you won by 16 the first time, you'll get things done the second time. However, I was gonna say this, Wes. I totally forgot when we're talking about teams that that have gone for everybody's throat. Forgot to mention the team that went for anybody's throat the most was Fourth Christian. They wanted your house.
That's a good point. Yeah. I think I have gotten. Yeah,
yours is definitely the worst.
That out of my brain.
Yeah, no, I know. I was like,
nowhere else were people holding like signs, like asking for everyone's demanding everyone's belongings.
No,
yeah,
you're right.
It's a good point. It's a good point.
That was a fun little. I completely forgot that happened. To be honest with you, my short-term memory is not great.
So welcome Jack to the podcast, y'all. Jack, if you want to make any bold claims, just know there are repercussions for your actions.
Yeah, funny enough, people actually care about what we say on here. So just just keep that in the back of your mind.
Yeah, keep that in the back of your mind.
Trust me. I was getting some flack from some of my old teammates because of some of the things I said on the Twitter space. I got some
nice.
You know who you are who texted me in the old football group chat saying I wasn't giving you guys enough credit.
Oh, that's one thing. Even if you talk about a team, if you don't talk good enough, people will still come after you. Trust me, it's a very fun development. Just wait till the tap stats get in the mix.
Yeah,
it's a fun thing. But moving on into the last game we're going to cover, Episcopal versus Kinkaid. A game I know Jack is very excited to talk about. Immediately following the 3A contest, 7-2 EHS and 6-4 Kinkaid will square away to crown an SPC 4A champion. Kinkaid is riding high off a fantastic win versus St. John's, which featured one of the most masterful rushing attacks I've ever seen with my own two eyes. Senior Micah Bell and Junior Miles Rader are elite athletes and will do everything in their power to repeat as kings of SPC. Episcopal will have other plans. Behind Carson Gordon, Andre Thompson, Lane Linebarger, and Madden Morgan, this EHS team is loaded with talent and are the favorites in this matchup. I love this Kinkaid team. I've reversed position on them and cannot understate how good the coaching and execution has been for the Falcons. But I cannot overlook the talent of EHS, and for that reason, I have to take the Knights to win the SPC. Jack, I know this is a matchup you have been looking forward to. What are your thoughts on this game and how it's going to turn out?
So I think Kinkaid has an advantage in the rushing game. I think that's without a question. They have a very unique Wildcat offense. They don't really pass the ball. They had 0 passing yards against St. John's. It's not an easy offense to defend. They're going to run it down your throat. And with that being said, Episcopal has a really, really talented offense. Coach Casey, who I've heard nothing but good things about, has really led a great offense this year. But with that being said, Kinkaid's defense held them to 21 points. The only team to hold Episcopal to less points was Parish. That's saying something. Episcopal also had a accidental bye week last week. Their game got rained out. Kinkaid had to fight and claw to get in. Kinkaid's a gritty team. They started off a little slow. They had a huge win against ESD, one that a lot of us didn't see coming. They're a talented team. And for me, it's my alma mater, whatever. Micah Bell's going to put Kinkaid on his back, and they're going to be the 2022 SPC champions, and they're going to get a hat like this that says 2022. Give me Kinkaid.
Oh, that is fantastic. I love every ounce of that. That is tremendous showmanship. I love it. Walker Lott, EHS versus Kinkaid. Your thoughts on the matchup?
This is a big rivalry. It's been there. They just want it bad, I think, over in Kinkaid. And I'm trying to look back at it because do you remember back in the day, Wes, when they announced, right, that Andre Thompson, he was announcing that he was transferring to Bel Air Episcopal.
Mm-hmm.
Nathan Larned did the little emoji with like the rolling eyes emoji back in the day.
I do.
And I'm saying this because it's now public knowledge. He posted it on Twitter. It's a very interesting thing because they've always been back and forth. They've always had talented guys on both sides, multiple D1 commits, both sides, a lot of the years. But I think they want it, man. These guys over at Kinkaid really, really want it, man. They want to show, hey, you might have some of these guys coming in. A lot of young talent has caused a lot of good wins for them, brought back the Bel Air that we thought, they've always been, and back to the successful program that they are. I talked earlier, Wes, about how good, Bel Air is in the trenches. Their offensive line, most of them are over 6'2" to 6'3". Jason Otaw, the Texas A&M Commerce commit, Hutch Coward, the 23 defensive lineman, other guys in the line, the linebackers, Madden Morgan, the 26 guy. I believe they have other linebacker. I know number 7 is a linebacker for them, who's, I believe, their captain as well. And they have talent on the offensive side, Carson Gordon, Lane Linebarger, Andre Thompson, all the others. But sometimes you just want the grit of Kinkaid. You want it. You have rushing tack. Micah Bell is going to do what he does, and he's going to put his team on the back, just like Jack just said. But that doesn't matter in this one. And I think Bel Air is going to show why they're back to being as good as they are. And the whole thing of you can't beat a team twice. They're not going to be able to beat them 2 times in a row. Bel Air gets the win here and are the 4A state champions.
That is so dirty. You had me hook, line, and sinker. You were taking Kinkaid. That was so dirty. And yeah, now I feel bad. I feel like I'm like betraying Kinkaid after like, the whole incident of me like choosing them last week and then they were happy and then I got roped into taking a picture. I now feel bad like I'm betraying the team, but
Michael Bell did tell you to leave the picture. So
Michael Bell did tell me to leave the picture. Well, he didn't tell me to leave. He just said, who is this? Who let this dude in the picture? Ryan Schroeder, your thoughts on the matchup between EHS and Kinkaid?
all right. Now, obviously, Michael Bell, man, I have picked against you so many times in my dang career. And so it's not gonna be any different today. I'm picking against you again. Like I'm telling you, dude. Mike, I will pick against you till probably it's over. I also hate Notre Dame. My dad went to Boston College. I am a Boston College fan. Like that is my Catholic school that I run with. Like best believe, like I am not a Notre Dame fan. However, my mom went to Georgia, so I guess your brother gets some love out of me. But anyways, sorry, that's not relevant to the story. I just thought that was funny as hell. Anyways, getting into it. Kinkaid is so talented with Mikey Bell and Miles Schroeder. If you didn't hear me earlier, just
Raider.
know that what
Raider.
It's not Raider.
Miles Raider.
No,
it's
not.
Raider.
Well,
It's Raider.
Well, it's an O and an E,
football.
so I'm gonna change his name. So Miles Raider and Michael Bell obviously are two really talented players. Honestly, like when I already said Miles Raider is gonna have his time to shine next year. I keep saying that, whatever. However, this team can't throw the ball, dude. They cannot throw the ball. They had Miles Raider throw the ball, and he threw 1 out of 2 passes. But then they had Cooper Chambers, which I'm so sorry, you don't even have classification on here. Cooper Chambers went 0 for 6 and 2 interceptions in the game against Episcopal they had last time, and I feel like that's the reason why they didn't want to pass the ball against St. John's is because the only guy you have playing a true quarterback position is Cooper, and he went out there, didn't complete a pass, and threw 2 interceptions. So I think if EHS has learned anything at this point from the game that they played against them and St. John's this past week is let's pack every last player into the box. And let's literally try do everything in our possibility to stop the run. We already said that EHS has the D lineman and the guys in the trenches to be the mass to stop that. So let's be very fair here. If EHS can study the film, they know how they got how it was a 6-point game last game. They're gonna realize how to stop this next time. I'm so sorry, Michael Bell, but my goodness gracious, man, I would love for you to prove me wrong again. That'd be great for you. But for me, I got EHS. I got the Knights here, man. And this Knights team, like everybody already knows, this is a team that should be 8-1 from what we've heard from multiple sources about things with the ESD game. And they only lost by 7 points to the Parish Episcopal. So yeah, give me Episcopal in this one.
Ryan turning into hater of the year for some reason.
I'm not a hater. I'm not a hater, dude.
You would be the first pick at the 21st annual Player Haters Ball hosted by Dave Chappelle. You would be pick number 1. That I don't know why that made me laugh so hard, but I mean, that being said, that's actually all we're going to recap for the games.
This is going to be a good coaching clinic too.
Oh,
I think
yes.
Larned versus, is it Lees? Is that how you say his last name?
Lees.
Oh, okay. Those guys know how to coach in a championship game. Both of them do. And they're going to study that last film, like Ryan said, and see if they can outbeat each other. And that film room, this whole week is going to be just studying the film, trying to figure out how to beat the other team. And this is going to be fun to watch and see if Larned can come up with something to really, really just go crazy on Episcopal and kind of maybe mess them up in the head and just, hey, this is not what we expected. Let's go win this game. So it's going to be fun to watch. Larned knows how to do it for sure.
I completely agree. I will.
Larned?
Oh, okay, so we've been
Larned.
saying that. We've been saying that wrong.
Larned.
Too.
Okay,
Why will
I'm
no
gonna
one
need-
correct us.
I'm gonna need a pronunciation guide of all of Kinkaid. I'm gonna need this to be put on a sheet, and I'm
This
gonna need
is-
it.
Hey,
down
we have
listed.
it. You know who our pronunciation machine is? It's the guy hanging out with us right now, Jack Klosek.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, Jack. I'm gonna need you
I
to.
can't.
That's your homework.
In mine old our defense, there is no way that should be said Raider. That is
Oh yeah.
Raider.
Are
That
we
is
kidding?
ROE.
Are we kidding? Like that's 100% Rotor.
That is not my fault.
My coaches at Kinkaid didn't know my name was pronounced Klosek till I was like a letterman in football and baseball. I just never corrected them. When I started Kinkaid, my dad told me, he's like, if the coaches call you Klosek, don't say anything. And I remember Coach Moss coming up. He was the baseball coach, but he's also the receivers coach and he's the play caller. He's a really tall coach if you've ever seen him. And he goes, he has this very distinct way of talking. He goes, Jack, since when were you going to tell me that your last name is pronounced Klosek? I was like, I didn't want to be rude and correct you. So that's my little tidbit about confusing names.
That's
well,
amazing.
it seems like literally all the confusing names just reside with Kinkaid, except for Kyler Sullivan. I feel bad. I like Kyler Sullivan like DM me and was like, hey, thanks for the love, but my name's actually pronounced Kyler, like Kyler Murray. I was like, thank you, dude. I'm so sorry. I'll get that corrected. Next episode, I call him Keeler 3 times. And he DMs me again. He's like, hey, no offense, my name's still Kyler. I was like, shoot, I'm sorry, I'll fix it. But yeah, I will get it. You just have to tell me like 3 or 4 times.
I have to say, Jack, you and Matthew have the funniest stories, dude. In the past 2 weeks, I've heard Jack and Matthew now both say these crazy stories. Oh, y'all add so much. It was incredible.
I have many more, and some that I probably can't say on air.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Trust me, we are all that way. I will say one day I'm gonna bring Matthew on here and we're gonna do an episode of him doing nothing but just telling stories. I guarantee you it'd probably be our most viewed episode ever. That dude has some wild stuff to say. But with all that being said, I think it's a great place to close the episode. I know I said it last week, but I think this week is my favorite slate of games so far. This Kinkaid, I will say, although I picked EHS, this Kinkaid team fascinates me, has absolutely earned my respect, and I am so excited to watch them play EHS this Saturday. But as always, I have been 1/3 of your hosting crew, 1/4 of your crew for today. Jack Klosek, thank you so much for coming on. We appreciate your analysis, and we're looking forward to see what you have to say following the SPC championships. Walker Lott and Ryan Schroeder have fantastically been themselves. We will see you in the next episode. See you later.
3, 2, 1.